In this week's Drive, we see how a not-so-simple car seat can save your life. Join the big and heavy brigade on a charge of mercy. Witness the full-size revival of a famous German name. And wonder whether fashion designers live on our planet. All this and more in this week's Drive. In Formula One, there's often 1/100th of a second between winning and losing. That's why the sport places such heavy demands on both the drivers and the technology that the teams employ. When it comes to the electronics in motor racing, Italian company Magneti Marelli has been the specialist for over 85 years. Founded in 1919, right after the Great War, the company's products were put into racing cars almost straight away, and have been instrumental in hundreds of historic race wins ever since. Drivers like Nuvolari, Fangio, Moss, Hawthorne and Collins have all benefited from Marelli's experience.
Magneti Marelli decided to take part in the Formula One Championship because the championship has always represented the highest level of technology in the automotive field. Taking part in these championships supports advanced technical research with all the resulting flow-on effects for series production.
One example of this transfer of technology from Formula One to road cars is the cellar-speed electronic gearbox, once reserved for the racers, now seen in many road cars. First introduced by Ferrari, some models of Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Alfa Romeo, Lancia and Peugeot now also use variations of the robotic gearbox. Just like in Formula One, cellar speed is activated by paddles behind the steering wheel.
In 1989, the first semi-automatic gearbox were introduced, which meant the driver got rid of the conventional gear change and could change electronically. That's now universal in Formula One and is now becoming universal in top-end road cars. It obviously ensures that the driver can change gear at the optimum point without taking his hands off the steering wheel. It's become universal because it's an obvious aid to Formula One, and any new innovation like that becomes immediately universal, everyone has to have it. Obviously it's because there's a big performance advantage. And now it's absolutely standard and essential in Formula One.
10 years ago, the first Marelli-developed dashboard was released, and variations on their design have become standard equipment in Formula One. A vast array of information can be displayed, fully customized to suit each driver. Formula One electronics are a silent, microscopic and almost invisible technology at the very edge of sensitivity, computing power and design. As in anything in the sport, lighter weight, quicker response and greater capacity are the imperatives. Marelli makes a total of 12 different components for Formula One, but details of the designs for each team are of course top secret. This includes Step 11, the master control box. Step 11 is the brain of the racing car. Among other things, it's vital for telemetry. During the race, more than 200 sensors on the car measure everything that happens. Gear changes, various motor temperatures and pressures, and the master control box records all these measurements and transmits the data back to the engineers in the pits. That way, the team can work out a winning strategy based on what the car and the driver can do out on the track and what the team can do in the pits. About 80%, 4 in 5, of all electronic components used in the premier motor racing class are built by the Italian firm. Like the cellar-speed gearbox, many of these designs will eventually find their way into the systems of road cars, suitably adapted for the very different environment of everyday motoring. Thanks to industrial radiography, X-ray technology, all the products are checked before they are delivered to the various teams. It's especially important to make sure that components are correctly positioned after they've been cast into solid blocks to protect them from heat and vibration. But there's more to it than just product development, which often takes place up to a year and a half before the start of a new season. During every race, each of the teams using Marelli's equipment is supported by a team of specialist engineers. Not just Ferrari, but also Sauber, Renault, Toyota and Minardi rely on the small Italian company.
The electronics components on the car, a Formula One car is a very complex item, and the electronic systems are very key to that. in all elements of Formula One racing cars' performance, from the start, where there's a lot of electronic control, to every part of the lap. So correctly functioning electronic systems are key to the correct level of performance in Formula One, and we rely totally on Magneti Marelli for that.
Reliability as well as trustworthiness, that's what counts, because the company deals with the top secret information from 5 different teams. Therefore, separate engineers work for each of them, becoming virtually a part of their client teams. This puts them in competition with each other, and like any other team, they all want to win.
Our philosophy is to win, always, within each discipline: Formula One, MotoGP, and the World Rally Championship.
In total, the company has claimed over 300 victories in Formula One. The pursuit of that elusive, decisive 1/100th of a second has been more than successful for the teams, the drivers, and for Marelli. Millions of consumers spend $29 billion per year with over 5,000 companies on vehicle accessories in the United States alone. You name it. Wheels, spoilers, exhaust systems, grills or great engines. If it's a product for your car, truck or SUV, it will probably be on display at SEMA, the annual Specialty Equipment Market Association trade show in Las Vegas.
2 of the hottest categories you'll see here are definitely the mobile electronics, which really entails all of the infotainment systems that are currently being put into vehicles. The other one is wheels and tires. Our research shows that one of the first purchases somebody will make to personalize, customize, or accessorize their vehicle and make it distinguishable from the guy across the street is change the wheels and tires.
The desire to personalize vehicles has become so prevalent that new car manufacturers like Honda, Nissan and even Cadillac are offering accessories like wheels on the showroom floor.
Manufacturers like General Motors are getting into the personalization business because, first of all, customers have come to expect personalization. I mean, it's a trend that is in almost every other industry. What manufacturers are finding is that this is a great way for us to sell vehicles. They can be absolutely assured that the product works with the vehicles. It's also covered by a full warranty, and you can also wrap it into your vehicle payments, so it becomes very affordable.
Vehicle customizing is getting easier, so it's not just for baby boomer hot rodders or Gen X and Y tuners. Motorists who want the family vehicle to have a little edge to it are the ones really driving this trend. A new international test ranks all models of Volvo cars best concerning whiplash protection. The test was made by international insurers Whiplash Prevention Group, and Volvo was the only manufacturer to have their entire range achieve a best-in-class rating. 208 front seats were tested in the US and in Europe. Whiplash injuries are the most frequent traffic injury today, causing considerable cost and suffering, and reducing this would be a great achievement. Whiplash. This is what happens to your body when your car is hit from behind. The automotive industry is working hard to find a solution that protects you from this kind of injury that's growing and growing fast.
Over the last 20 years, there's been an enormous increase in this area.
Can you say something about how many people that are injured in Sweden?
I think around 30,000 persons go to the emergency clinic and present some problem from the neck, but it's 20,000 that has real problems, and these 20,000, approximately 1,000 to 1,500 get long-term consequences from it.
Can you do anything to protect yourself from this?
As we now have some protective system, as for example the Volvo Whips chair, I think you should use a car that has such equipment, safety equipment. That's my idea, that what you can do yourself, to have a car with this system.
University research is helping a lot. This is Lotta Jakobsen, who works at Volvo. She has a PhD in traffic safety, and the results of her research helped create the Volvo WHIPS system.
WHIPS is designed to give a very even and good support for the occupant. This is achieved by having a good head restraint design as well as a good design of the seat backrest characteristics, together with absorption of energy. Like if you catch a ball, you want to do that in a soft way. And we have a mechanism in the WHIPS seat to enable the seat backrest to move with the occupant rearward relative to the seat cushion. We have estimated our WHIPS system as compared to our prior car seats to be very significant, both for reducing initial neck pain, but also persistent problems, problems lasting more than 1 year. And our study has been supported by 2 independent studies as well.
Can you say anything about the costs?
Yes, in Sweden we have calculated that 2 billion Swedish crowns is the estimated yearly cost today for the whiplash-related injuries. But in the future, all the whiplash-related injuries that occur 1 year in the early 21st century, they will cost 4 billion Swedish kronor in the future, so the costs will double. And this is because there are many more accidents happening today than, say, 10 years ago, and also because the people who are in these accidents are fairly young, and therefore the costs to help them get back into the workforce and so forth will be very high.
We must know more about it, more resources for research, so we can see what's happening in the neck.
What do Fuji, the handicapped dolphin, and a Formula One racing car have in common? The answer is they both rely on the Bridgestone Tyre Corporation. Fuji the dolphin was stricken by illness a few years ago and had to have 3/4 of her tail amputated. Swimming and life in general has been difficult for the 34-year-old dolphin, who lives in an aquarium on Japan's southernmost island of Okinawa. Until now, that is. One of Japan's leading tyre makers, Bridgestone Corporation, has created an artificial fin for Fuji, the first of its kind in the world. The tail was made at the request of a veterinarian who'd been looking after the handicapped 235-kilogram dolphin. In 2002, 4 Bridgestone volunteers started the project, which was soon promoted to a company project for good social causes, and research into how dolphin fins work and materials to create artificial ones started in earnest. 10 prototypes using the latest in advanced resin processing technology were made before the team came up with the one that works. The tail fin is 30 centimetres in length and 70 centimetres wide, a bit smaller than the tail of a healthy dolphin of Fuji's size. It's made of material normally used in Formula One racing car tyres. The black silicon rubber was reinforced with artificial bone made of carbon fibre to recreate the appropriate hardness. Sponge rubber was used for parts that would normally come into contact with Fuji's skin. Bridgestone has spent about 10 million yen, or $100,000 so far on the project. As for Fuji, the black fin frightened her and putting on the tail was difficult at first. But now, after several months of practice, she can swim and even jump like her peers. An association between the Red Cross and a civic-minded group of four-wheel drive owners has been announced that should add an extra layer of emergency response in times of need.
Hummers will help us get to the places where disasters happen, the conditions are difficult, and I think the other thing that this partnership does is it brings some increased visibility. I think everybody's excited to see Hummers out on the road, and when they see that great big Red Cross sign on the door, it's going to add some visibility to our joint effort. It's going to add some visibility to the role Red Cross is playing in the community.
Well, the program's designed so that the Hummer owners can respond at both local levels, meaning home fires or apartment fires where people displaced and the Red Cross moves in to help out, and also on a national level for disasters, tornadoes, hurricanes, large-scale disasters like in New York, and anything of that scale.
Members of the Hummer Club can choose to become certified as Red Cross volunteers who can be deployed in local and national relief operations to drive supplies and people into disaster areas that other vehicles might not be able to reach. To qualify, members of the club will undergo a variety of Red Cross training, including CPR, first aid, automated external defibrillation and emergency response. In addition, the club will provide training and certification for off-road driving skills, ensuring the drivers can safely drive over or through obstacles or remove them if needed. In the booming world motorcycle industry, this year's Intermot show had more than 1,000 international exhibitors on more than 100,000 square meters of exhibition space, in 10 trade fair halls receiving over 1 million visitors. BMW briefly displayed this completely unexpected naked version of the K1200S superbike. It was on show for only half an hour on press day before being withdrawn and wasn't shown to the public. BMW insiders, however, let slip that the bike is seen as a replacement for the popular R1150R, which is being phased out, as is the 1200 Cruiser, because they lack the performance to compete with the latest generation of street twins. It'll be available in mid-2005.
It's probably the most unexpected bike BMW could do. It's on the basis of the K1200S, our most powerful, sportiest bike so far. And it's on this basis a naked bike, which adds still some more emotions to it. It has quite an aggressive design, and it is the most powerful naked bike available in the world.
Moto Guzzi's stunning Grisso concept street fighter will go into production during 2005, according to the venerable Italian manufacturer. The Grisso, an Italian slang term for a bodyguard, was first shown in 2002. It's powered by a fuel-injected 1100cc version of Guzzi's time-honoured air-cooled transverse V-twin, detuned to a leisurely 66 kilowatts and driving through the latest 6-speed gearbox and a neat enclosed single-sided parallelogram swing arm. Bodywork has been kept to a bare minimum, as has the instrumentation, with no more than an analog rev counter and an LCD screen for everything else. Honda's CBR 1000RR will be available in some countries in a MotoGP replica, despite the mediocre results of the HRC team this season. Its smaller stablemate, the CBR 600RR, has been through an evolution rather than a revolution. It now has a new upside-down fork with radial brakes, and Honda claims to have trimmed 5 kilos off its overall weight, which means it now weighs just 164 kilograms dry. The latest 1000cc Fireblade lays claim to the DNA of Honda's RC211V MotoGP bike, with a more compact new engine, dual sequential fuel injection, a new hollow section aluminium composite frame, and a revolutionary steering damper.
We are developing in Japan some future project. As you know, Honda is very advanced in technologies, not only for safety issues but also for environmental issues. Means about environment, we have already many machines with advanced technology like catalyzer and so on. But we are looking also in some other fields like electric scooter or hybrid engines, so means engines with the combustion and with electric motor, in order to reduce fuel consumption and also the emission.
Honda's latest take on the current supermoto trend in Europe is the FMX 650. Light, quick steering, nimble and fast, with sticky tyres and big brakes. When the Yamaha MT-01 concept bike was shown in Tokyo in 1999, it caused such a stir that Yamaha's designers decided to build it. They shoehorned the huge 1670 Road Warrior motor into an R1 frame, but more than 90% of the engine parts have been modified or lightened. Some Japanese engines lack character, so Yamaha came up with the Kodo concept. It means pulse in Japanese, and deliberately designed the V-twin engine to vibrate. Yamaha also showed a heavily revised R6 with more power to cope with developments in the most competitive class in the market, and graphics to capitalize on Valentino Rossi's MotoGP championship. Yamaha claims 92 kilowatts for the 2005 R6. The front end is all new, stiffer triple clamps hold bigger forks and bigger brakes, and even the front tyre is bigger. One of Germany's proudest marques, the now Malaysian-owned but still German-based MZ, said the two-cylinder MZ 1000S has revamped software since the company allowed the press to ride it late last year. The MZ 1000S, with its liquid-cooled 998cc twin-cylinder engine, was MZ's first large-capacity machine. The show was also the first sighting of MZ's next 1-litre bike, the Street Fighter, which should be available in April. MZ has a history of building solid and reliable utilitarian two-strokes. A reincarnation with Yamaha engines has given the company the impetus to build big 4-stroke motors in highly acclaimed bikes. The Confederate Motor Company makes handcrafted motorcycles in New Orleans. Claimed to be the fastest and most luxurious American V-twin motorcycles ever made, Confederates are assembled in batches of 5 or less. and this year's Intermot saw the launch of the new Hellcat.
Well, everything began with the integrity of the chassis. So the main focal point was the riding experience, something that would really be fun, light, maximum torque. So I think we've got the best torque to weight ratio of any machine on the planet.
Kawasaki pulled out its 2005 ZX6R and ZX6RR sport middleweights, and they've been updated enough to be regarded almost as new models. The factory claims 80 kilowatts from the 636cc motor, in which all moving parts have been lightened to let it rev faster. Highlight of the KTM stand was a series of 4 motorcycles based on the 75-degree V-twin motor that powers the current 950 Adventure dual-purpose bike. They range from the 990 Super Duke street bike, already in production, to the unrealistic Venom concept machine, which does, however, demonstrate just how far outside the box they're prepared to think. Importantly, all new kids' mini models get new graphic designs. The biggest surprise of the Suzuki stand was a street-legal supermotard based on the existing DRZ 400S, a street-legal enduro bike that's huge fun on and off the road with the same motor. The SM is a hooligan tool that should be suited to both commuting and playing in the twisties at weekends. Europe has a booming scooter market, and Peugeot's Compressor Jet Force 125, the world's first supercharged 125 scooter, was shown in 2 models, learner restricted and full power, offering an acceleration that outpaces some 250s. The Ludex Blaster is liquid-cooled and combines a sporty 50cc engine with a light chassis. Compact dimensions, reduced weight, big tyres and 50% more power and sporty styling make it an attractive vehicle for people who need some independence. Coming on top of global spikes in the oil price, this year's Intermot showed that there's a wealth of options to be had on 2 wheels. Finally, combining 85 car parts, a wind tunnel, 1 model, a photographer and a charity, Ford designers and internationally renowned dress designer Bruce Oldfield have created a vision of beauty in the shape of a stunning streetcar dress. Made to match a special pink Ford streetcar, the dress was auctioned during London Fashion Week to raise money for Barnardo's, where Oldfield himself lived from the second day of his life. Ford designer Paul Wraith admitted that this was one of the most bizarre projects he'd ever worked on.
The dress is a streetcar dress. And the streetcar's got a very strong, we would refer to down-the-road graphic. It looks powerful on the road, and we want to imbue the dress with a sense of that, such that the streetcar has a central reverse light, so we put a central reverse light onto the rear of the dress. We also try to develop the breakup of the panels so that it looks more like the car.
The corset was formed in pink fiberglass, the material of the car's hard top. The choker is the car's clock. The hat was made from parcel shelf material and cable ties, and the skirt from mesh used on the front grille, decorated with colourful wiring from under the car's dashboard.
It's quite nice to have things that are sort of shooting off.
Oldfield has designed outfits for celebrities like Jerry Hall, Catherine Zeta-Jones and the late Princess of Wales.
We're using all sorts of funny things, you know. It's a bit like a magpie, you know, finding little things that glitter and sort of bunging them on. But then I've had to sort of try and bring the skirt into the bodice, you know, to tie them together. So we're going to use pink bows. I figured it was a very sort of a girly, couture solution. You know, if you can't fix it, just tie a bow on it. You know.
Ford used technologies normally reserved for future cars to develop the bodice, and having a pink corset emerging in the workshops certainly raised a few eyebrows around the place. So whether you're dumping data back to the pits, getting used to a new tail, or just eyeing up the competition, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.